Some say the world will end in fire, some in ice. Well, whatever it may be, the result is the same. The end of the world. Earth is our beloved planet, the only one that we can call home. When you think about the end of the world, there's no doubt that it's creepy. But what's creepier is that there have been times when our Earth had almost died. That's right, in this video we take a look at the top 5 of the closest calls we've had to losing our home planet. Number 5. The solar storm. As per the Mayan civilization, 2012 was going to be the end of the world, and when something struck in the summer of 2012, fear arose quickly. Scientists recorded a massive solar flare on the 23rd of July. This extreme solar storm had been the most powerful in as much as 150 plus years. The burst had missed the Earth by the slightest margin of around 9 days, and if it had hit, things would have changed, big time. Instead, the storm cloud hit the Stereo A spacecraft, and this is what Daniel Baker said. "I've come away from our recent studies more convinced than ever that Earth and its inhabitants were incredibly fortunate that the 2012 eruption happened when it did." He continued, "If the eruption had occurred only 1 week earlier, Earth would have been in the line of fire." As per him, if the eruption had taken place earlier, the Earth would have had to face wrath, as these solar storms posed a threat to all forms of high technology. All the technologies humanity built would have been washed away with this, and maybe even the entire Earth. Well, things begin with an explosion in the magnetic canopy of a sunspot, and when X-rays and extreme UV radiation reach Earth at the speed of light, the upper layers of our atmosphere become ionized. Things don't stop with radio blackouts and GPS navigation errors, as the electrons and protons that are accelerated by the blast could actually electrify satellites and damage their electronics. The widespread power blackout this could cause would disable everything that plugs into a wall socket. There's no doubt that without all of this technology, we wouldn't be on the same Earth. As the Mayan civilization's prophecy remained, this incident actually seemed as if Earth had almost died. Number 4. The Germanic Flood. It was 1499 when the German mathematician and astronomer Johann Stoffler made a groundbreaking prediction that shattered the entire world. He predicted that a vast flood would end up engulfing the world on February 20th, 1524. During that year, Stoffler's calculations foretold 20 planetary conjunctions, and this prediction of his just made a huge impact. In Europe, there were more than 100 different published pamphlets that endorsed Stoffler's prophecy. His doomsday property turned out to be a boon for boat builders as their business soared high. Well, things got really out of hand as a German nobleman, Count von Igelheim, constructed a 3-story ark on the Rhine. But the year of 1524 was a year of drought in Europe. Although a light rain fell on the day Stoffler predicted, there were crowds of people who hoped that they would get themselves a seat on Igelheim's ark. They rioted, hundreds were killed, and the Count was stoned to death. By the time Stoffler recalculated the actual date to be 1528, his reputation had been tarnished by then. Well, though his Germanic Flood did not occur on February 20th, 1524, when planet Earth had almost died, there was indeed a bloodbath on the day. Number 3. The Vanilla Comet. On the 12th and 13th of August in 1883, a small observatory in Zacatecas had just given rise to an astounding observation. It was an astronomer named Jose Vanilla who was behind this observation, and he claimed that he had counted 450 objects, each of which was surrounded by a kind of mist, and was passing across the face of the sun. Vanilla's claims were not taken seriously, as there were many who claimed that this could have been caused due to birds or insects or dust which were passing in front of Vanilla's telescope. When Hector Manterola at the National Autonomous University of Mexico in Mexico City gave his different interpretation, we knew that Vanilla must have seen fragments of a comet that had recently broken up. This interpretation also explains the misty appearance of the pieces and why the fragments were extremely close. According to Manterola, he estimated that the fragments must be about 600 kilometers to 8,000 kilometers of Earth. Well, that's what shocks us, and indeed Earth had almost died then. The size of these objects was estimated to be from 50 to 800 meters across, and they also believed that the parent comet must have tipped the scales at 1 billion tons, or even more. They came to a conclusion about how close Earth may have come to a catastrophe that day. What spooked us was his ending statement. So if they had collided with Earth, we would have had 3,275 Tunguska events in 2 days, probably an extinction event. Well, Earth must have been really lucky back then. Or maybe the planet along with the human race might have just come to an end. Number 2. Halley's Comet. Comets have always been associated with doom, and when Halley's Comet returned in 1910, things were no different. In the same year, there were British and Irish writers who suggested that this comet was an indicator of a forthcoming invasion by Germany. This created a sense of panic among people, but things didn't stop there. There were Parisians who blamed the comet for a massive flood of the Seine River that put their city on the brink of devastation. But when Chicago's Yerkes Observatory announced that it had detected a poisonous gas called cyanogen in Halley's tail, things had gotten out of hand. Things worsened as time passed, and the New York Times came up with a report that the noted French astronomer, Camille Flammarion, believed that this gas would impregnate the atmosphere and possibly snuff out all life on the planet. This was when Earth had almost died, but though Halley's Comet didn't snuff out life, people rushed in order to purchase gas masks, and even comet pills. This was when the New York Times also reported that terror occasioned by the near approach of Halley's Comet has seized hold of a large part of the population of Chicago. The Atlanta Constitution had also reported that people in Georgia were all prepared for an extinction threat, as they were setting up safe rooms and covering even keyholes with paper. That's defensive. Though Halley's Comet passed on without harm, it still might be a threat to the collapse of planet Earth. Number 1. Man's Black Hole. The early 1990s had reported that the Large Hadron Collider could potentially be the end of the world, as it would create a black hole that would swallow the Earth. The collider was indeed an advanced piece of technology that came with the capacity to smash together proton beams at velocities up to 99.99% the speed of light. Through this, the collider has the ability to simulate the conditions and energies that existed shortly after the beginning of the Big Bang. This would give vital information and would provide insights into critical questions as to how our universe was formed. But still, there's always been panic about what if the high-energy collision of protons could create micro-black holes. Black holes are often something astronomers have depicted to be a dangerous component of the universe, and the Large Hadron Collider could have sparked one. So which of these close calls did you find to be the most devastating? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so that we can entertain you with more new videos.